Hello, all of you fearless listeners. Welcome to Let Fear Bounce. This is Kim Langling, your host of the podcast that brings you inspiration and motivation each week. Join me as I chat with my awesome guests who share their triumphs, their failures, and how they have thrived despite it all. So get ready to be inspired and empowered and to let your own fears bounce. Now let's dive into this episode. Hello, everybody. Welcome to another episode of Let Fear Bounce. Thank you so much for deciding to spend just a small part of your day with myself, Kim Langling, your host, and my special guest today, SAM Morrison Wilson. She is the founder and community host of Safe Heart Connections, an online community group for women learning to love themselves more fully, building a band of sisters who are stronger together and are becoming witnesses to the fact that self-love is not selfish. She has a heart of connection and wants women to know that if they want a different life, they can have one choice at a time. Sam, welcome to Let Fear Bounce. I've been looking forward to this conversation.
Yeah, me too. Thank you for having me. I'm excited to be here.
Now, you are also an author. You have a journal out, and the name of the journal is called 30 Days to Creating a Life of Self-Love. Tell me a little bit about, and of course the listeners, a little bit about how that journal came about.
Well, in my online community groups, Safe Heart Connections, I do monthly, I wouldn't call them challenges, but giving them opportunity to do something on a monthly basis. And one month, this was the challenge, and I gave them an affirmation, a task to do that day if they wanted to, and then a journal prompt. And I actually used the same information that I put in the community and turned it into a book, where they can either get a digital download or an actual paperback copy.
Oh, how awesome. How awesome.
Yeah.
And so that's out. Now, do you have any other plans for any more journals or a book?
I've published a lot of journals. I've been doing that for a long time, and I haven't done very many what I would call books. I am a big believer in writing things down, and there's power in writing. And so all of my books, all of my journals, devotionals, those types of things have space to write in them. And so I want to focus right now on the 30 days to creating a life of self-love, though, because I truly believe, like I said in the intro that you read, that if we want a different life, we can have one. It just takes a different choice. And these 30 days can really set someone up to have the life that they want to live.
How awesome. And I like how you said that writing things down gives them power, and gives the words power. And I'm always saying that, like, if you write it or speak it out loud, it gives it power. So,
Yeah.
and for myself, if I'm talking to myself, which I do regularly throughout my day, if I say something and I have to say it out loud, because then one, I'll remember it if I'm trying to remind myself of something. And two, how remembering, and it sticks with you and it gives it power. And I've said that so often to so many people over the years, speaking stuff out loud, your words have power, and you can do an awful lot with them, and hopefully you're wanting to use them for good.
Yeah, 100%. And so words do have power. And what I have found working just on my own healing journey and working with women is that we are so mean to ourselves. The words we say to ourselves, we would never, ever, ever say to someone we love. And so whenever I'm talking to my women, I'm like, talk to yourself the way you would talk to someone you love. And they start to be aware of the fact of, oh, yes, that's not very nice at all. Why did I do that?
I have found and we've all done it and still do it, probably, at least for me, that negative self-talk. And I had mentioned that to someone, or I was saying something and they said, wait, Kim, stop. Did you just hear yourself, what you just said? And I said, yeah. And they're going, would you ever talk to your daughter that way? And that sentence, that question is what stopped me right there in my tracks. And I was like, automatically, absolutely not. I would never speak to her in that tone. And they're like, well, then why are you doing it to yourself?
Right.
And that was one that really stuck with me. Would you speak to your child? Would you say those words like that to your child? So hurtful and so mean. And
Yeah. And so
hopefully
being,
everybody's answer is no.
hopefully, yes. That's a different issue. If the answer is yes, that's a different
Yes,
issue.
it is.
We'll
Different issue,
cover that
different
another
show.
time.
Yeah.
And so one of the most powerful things that we can do, though, is to recognize when it's happening. And so one of the things that I do that works really well, everybody comes up with their own thing. But if I'm in a place where I can do this, like to where it's not going to be super weird, and I'm having a thought or something, I'm like, nope, not true. And I actually touch my head and I like pull it away, like get away, like not true.
Okay,
Not
yeah,
true.
you're pulling it out of your head and tossing it out.
Yeah, I'm touching my head and throwing it away. Not true. Not true.
Yeah, I do something similar. I do this.
Oh, you flick your shoulder.
I flick the devil off my shoulder. Said, no, you're not perching there today. See you later.
Yeah.
It's a physical movement. I've talked to several, and I'm sure you have too. Doing that physical thing also makes it sit in your head, and it's a good reminder.
Yeah.
Speaking out loud and doing something like that, at least for me, that's very helpful. And it makes it stick a little stronger.
Yeah, 100%. I agree.
So your company that you founded, Safe Heart Connections, why did that come about?
Yeah, that came about because I made a lot of really poor choices in my life and needed to do some healing from it. And I recognized when I first started Safe Heart Connections, I truly thought that I was broken. Like I was on the very front end of my healing journey. And I thought, I made all these choices and they were so not good. And what I recognized was that I wasn't broken, that I had learned some things that weren't helpful to me, and I was making decisions based on false information. And so once I learned something new, I could do something different. And I had been married and divorced multiple times. The last time was an abusive situation. I was lucky to get out. Not every woman is. And so what I recognized specifically in that time was that as a Christian, that the church was not very well equipped to handle that situation. And it was really hurtful. I mean, I've talked about this in other situations, but finally had the courage to talk to the pastor about what was going on. And I made on my side, the timing was wrong because it was just before church was going to start. But I was talking to his wife and she's like, you should tell him. And so we did. And then he looked at me and said, hey, I got to go start the service. Let me know how that works out for you. Not stay here. We'll get you some help. We'll have you talk to somebody. And I don't know that it's the pastor's responsibility to know what exactly to do. But in my mind, having resources and people to point people to in those kinds of situations, because I can promise you, I'm not the only woman in that church that was in an abusive situation. So having a resource of where to point the women to, or men can be in abusive situations too, or it's a drug situation, their kids. There's a million different things that I just truly think that the church doesn't know what to do when it happened. They don't know what to do. And I wish they did. And so what I did was I created a place where women could be safe, called it Safe Heart Connections, and where women can come together no matter what's going on, whether life's good, whether life's not so good. What I know is over time, it's not if something's going to happen, but when, because we all go through something, whether it's our kids, our parents, family, us losing a job, losing a spouse. There's a million different things that could happen, and it will. And who are you going to reach out to when it does?
Right. And your mention of, you go into your pastor and such, that's not a solitary happenstance that happens in many churches.
I know.
Unfortunately, and I agree with you that maybe pastors, maybe they can't help the situation, but churches in general, doesn't matter what denomination it is. And maybe some do, I don't know, because I obviously don't know every church, but have at least resources that you can point some to. Now, I know some churches do, and some churches even have people and
Yes.
teams within their churches that are educated and qualified to counsel.
Yes.
But if you're not equipped to counsel, then please
Yes.
don't.
Yeah, please don't. Yes. And so there are some really great churches out there, to your
Oh,
point,
absolutely.
that do. And again, this particular church, I don't think the pastor meant to do anything hurtful to me, right? I don't think that was his intent.
Right.
And yet it's what happened,
Right.
right?
You know, and
so
it's interesting. I experienced pretty much parallel experience like you did, going
mhm,
to church leadership with a big problem,
mhm.
and was just said, we need to pray. I said, that's not helping me.
Yeah,
And it was very, and I, again, like you just said, I don't think it was meant on the other end to be hurtful. They just weren't educated or qualified to deal with my particular situation. And I am not, please, anybody out there listening, I am not bashing church at all.
100%.
I
That's
have
not
a
the moral
very,
of this story.
no, I have a very strong faith, and uh, lovely people that I consider family from my church. So I'm not bashing. It's just unfortunate. There are things that happen. So that was your circumstance, and that's what that
Yeah,
nudged you
that's
to
what
start
led,
Safe Connections.
yeah,
And
that's what
how long
led
have you
me to
been doing
start
that? Safe Connections. How long has that been in existence?
Safe Heart Connections, but
Safe Heart Connections.
yeah, it's okay. I started it about 9 years ago. And when I first started, it was a meetup where I would have a monthly dinner at a local place. And I have a picture from our first meeting, and I'm still connected to almost all the women that were there. There was like 9, I think, there, and some of my best friends. One of the women that came that night, I had never met before. She saw that I had posted it on Facebook. We were in a common group, and she showed up, and we got to meet, and now we're really close. And so, yeah, it's been a really interesting journey, going from just an on site, in person kind of thing, to now literally having women from all over the world in the community because it's online. And we do still have in-person connection. Once a year, I host an in-person retreat. And so there is a potential for in-person stuff, but I know a lot of women, like, literally, because they're all over, that wouldn't be feasible. So I'm actually going to be hosting my first online retreat. It's not a summit or a workshop, but it's actually going to be set up as a retreat. It's going to be at the end of October, early November. I haven't picked the date yet. And so it'll be a time where women come together and they're able to build some real connections online, and also have the respite feeling of what you would get from a retreat. You would learn, you'll have connection, and then we're going to have assigned rest time. And they have to choose to do it when they, right? I can't make them, but it's going to be really fun. I'm so excited. I've gone through a training process that's helped me learn how to build these connections and do this online, and I can't wait. I'm so excited.
Oh, that is exciting. Good for you. Make
Yeah,
sure you let me know the details and
I
such.
will. I will.
How awesome. Yeah, and what a great opportunity that you're providing for so many people. Like you said, you have folks from all over the world, and that entails different cultures and such. So
Yes.
how do you put all of that together, or how do you make those connections work when you have different cultures and you've got women that might be in really tough situations, but it's
Yeah.
a really different culture?
Yeah, for
So
sure.
like
So
we were
one of
just
the
talking about pastors having resources. How is it when these people are coming, when these women are coming into your group with total different cultures and total different personal norms?
that's why community is so important, so that they're not alone. Maybe they don't have those connections or resources in their community. One of the women that joined is actually in the Philippines, and every woman that comes in, when they go through the Start Here module, they get a self-love assessment. And then I give them some personalized feedback from that. And I was reading hers and I was thinking about the differences in cultures because of where she's at and what's maybe allowed or considered normal there. And so I had to give the feedback based on that. It does matter. And I know that even not every woman that's in Safe Heart Connections is a Christian. I am, and most of the women are, but not everybody is. And the thing is, everybody's welcome. And like, if they're going to come and they're going to participate and they come on, we do a monthly Zoom check-in and they're sharing. There's no requirement to believe the same thing I believe. You're still going to be welcomed completely. It's not like, oh, well, I'm going to treat you different because you believe different. No, I love people. I love God, and I do my best to love other people as I love myself. Because that's the heart of what happened in my healing journey, is that I recognize one of the first trainings I went to was a co-ed thing, and it was an immersion where we were there for, it was 4 different weekends at a hotel, and we had like shared rooms. So I had female roommates, right? It wasn't co-ed like that, but in the classroom it was co-ed. And one of the gentlemen in between classes came up to me and he said, Sam, I see something in you. Is it okay for me to share? And I'm like, sure. He said, well, I see that you love God and you love people, but you don't love yourself.
Hmm.
And in that moment, I had the biggest breakthrough, because I recognized that all this stuff where I thought I was broken and where I thought I just kept making all these bad choices, someone that loved themselves in a good way, not the prideful, toxic, yucky thing that God tells us not to do, but the way God tells us to love ourselves, have love for self, not love of self. When we do that well, I would have never made the decisions that I made. And so that's when I really began the self-love journey. And my life is forever different because that man chose to ask me if he could say something, and I was willing to receive it.
You were willing to receive it. Boom.
Yes.
Mic
Yeah.
drop right on that one.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure.
And
so,
he was put in your path for a reason.
Yeah.
Obvious.
And he was a pastor.
Well, look at that. Isn't that interesting? See
I
how that
know.
works?
God brought that full circle.
Yes. I
It's like,
love how that happened.
that pastor over there didn't have the right thing, but this one did.
Right. Yes. And and it was all part of the grand plan that we will never
Yep.
know.
Yes.
We just strap ourselves in for the ride.
Yeah.
That's what it
Yeah,
feels
for
like
sure.
sometimes. Just strap yourself in because it might be bumpy.
Yeah, it is gonna be bumpy. That's
Indeed.
what I said earlier. Life is going to happen.
Yep.
And whether good or bad, it's just really important to know who you're going to call in those situations. And I've started posting a question of the week in the community that's just building, kind of fun. There's fun questions. And I also posted on my Facebook page, and one of my Facebook friends commented today. The question is, the question today was, what is one thing that most people don't know about? And her response was, I need people more than I realized.
Oh, yeah, that's a heavy one.
Right. And it's
Yeah.
true.
Yes.
We think we're more connected now because of social media, but I call BS. It's not true. But God created us to be in connection, in relationship with him and each other. And I can tell you the number of times that I've been in trouble in my life is because I tried to do it on my own.
Mm-hmm.
And so whether or not Safe Heart Connections is a good place for someone or not, finding the connection points that you can have is critical, because that's where life happens.
Right. Agreed. I agree. I agree. Well, fascinating stuff, actually. And I hope that, and you were tossing out nuggets all over the place there while we were talking. I hope some people are picking those up as they're listening in. But we're going to get ready to wrap up here. Can you please let folks know where they can find you?
Yep.
And where they can find the information that will be upcoming for your online retreat and any other goodies that you've got coming up? If you could share that with the listeners, that would be awesome.
Yeah, so it's really easy. safeheartconnections.com, my website, and I will have a link there about the 30 days to creating a life of self-love, where they can do that. One of the benefits of buying the that through my website is they'll get a digital download immediately, and then they'll get 30 days of emails that go along with it with some extra information. And then they can choose to also get the paperback that way as well.
Oh, awesome.
And yeah, so they'll be able to do that. And then I'll also have the retreat information there. It'll be posted probably in another month or two. So yeah, but everything will be there, safeheartconnections.com.
Wonderful. Now, I ask all of my guests if they would please toss out a nugget of hope to the listeners today, something that they can tuck away and carry with them. So what would your nugget of hope be today?
My nugget of hope is actually a question, so I hope that's okay.
Sure.
But my question would be, what would your life look like if you loved yourself?
Ooh, there you go.
Yeah.
Now, do you ask yourself that?
Oh, I do. And my life is so different. I look at where I was and where I am now. I believe there's always going to be room to grow. I'm a big believer in the phrase always be learning. Like I'm always learning. And when I learn something different that makes sense, just because I learned something, it could be true for somebody else, not true for me. I've already got it. I don't need that. But when I learn something different, am I going to be willing to receive it like I did with Dan? Or am I going to let it slide and say, nah, that's not for me? So being willing to learn and continue to improve, that's where it's at. And so, yeah, I ask myself all the time, my goal, I have created a life statement over the years, and it is, I am creating a life I am proud of and leaving a legacy of love. And so if I'm going to do something, does it make me proud? If not, we're probably not going to do that thing. And does it point to love? And if not, we're going to tap out as well.
Awesome. What a beautiful nugget. So
Yeah.
share the question again for the folks out there so they remember, or hope they'll grab your sticky notes, folks, or tablet or whatever, and get ready to write this down. So what is your nugget of hope question again?
What would your life look like if you loved yourself?
There you go, folks. Write that down as a reminder. If you can't answer it today, try and answer it tomorrow. Life is a journey. Life is a journey, and always be learning. I love that, because I'm the same. Constantly learning. There's always, and I think we should be. And there's always something to learn, and there's always a way that we can positively use that knowledge to change our small slice of the world.
Yes.
To make it a little bit of a better place.
One choice at a time.
That is right. That is right. Well, Sam, thank you so much for being my guest today on Let Fear Bounce. It's been a beautiful conversation, and I love meeting people where your hearts are kind of aligned and you're on kind of that same, tossing out those nuggets of hope and safe heart connections. And it's just all kind of pulls together there. So I just love meeting people like you. So thank you so much for sharing your story and your journey with myself and the listeners today on Let Fear Bounce.
Thank you. I'm glad I could be here.
Wonderful. Now, everybody out there, I hope that you enjoyed this episode as much as I did, and having Sam as my guest. Tune in each Wednesday, folks, online on your favorite listening platform, as well as on YouTube, that drops on Wednesdays. So everybody out there, thank you once again for listening and tuning in and sharing a bit of your day with myself and my special guest today, Sam Morrison Wilson. I had to put the dash in there. Sam Morrison Wilson. Everybody out there, this is Kim Langling, your host of Let Fear Bounce. Be well, stay well, and be blessed. Thank you for tuning in to another episode of Let Fear Bounce. I do realize that your time is precious, and I appreciate that you've decided to spend just a small part of your day with myself and my guest. I hope that you found inspiration and motivation tucked into this conversation today. And remember, every triumph and failure is a step towards thriving. So stay fearless, stay inspired, and join me each week with more inspiration from amazing guests from all over the world. Until then, stay fearless, my friends, and let fear bounce.